journey, and today we have Taylor, our new guest. So Taylor, I want you to introduce yourself briefly.
Yeah, it's interesting to explain oneself, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, my name is Taylor Eyewalker, and I consider myself doing the work as a vessel for spirit, so whatever wants to come through me. But some of the methodologies and the ways in which I work are I serve Kambo Medicine, and I developed a training program called the UNCOIL method. I'm a kundalini yoga teacher, and I serve tea ceremony and hold space for others when they're going through their process. And some of the other things that I love to do are create spaces and create art and enjoy traveling the world when we can. And
when we can soon, I hope.
Yeah, so, and music and life and exploring this beautiful place with the vessel that I've been given. So that's a little bit about me.
Very cool.
Yeah, so how did you get started?
How did I get started? I mean, people have asked me, oh, I'm sure you had some sort of like major breakthrough where you really changed.
Thing.
Yeah, I grew up where I was being initiated in some sort of conscious awareness, whether I was clear about that or not. And one of my caretakers, she babysat me when my parents would go out of town, or I would go over to her house after school. I started seeing her when I was about 7, and I remember going over to her house and the feeling that I felt and the smell that I experienced when I walked into her place. It was always cool. The house was surrounded by cedar, and it always smelled of some essential oil that really grounded my body, and I felt really cold there, but I also felt like really nurtured.
Cozy, like
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go into her rooms because I always like to explore people's places, and she would have these yoga posters on the walls and this like table, and I didn't really understand what was happening in there, but I would look at the posters, and we would ride around in the car. She would play these tapes about consciousness, and I don't remember who was talking as a lecture, but she would have health tapes, or because we were riding around.
Your parents get a good choice
in
like the. That's nice.
So I was in like a 90s or 80s something, probably 80s something Volvo, listening to tapes, and so that was really my initiation into some sort of thing other than the mundane world. And so I was always curious about exploring, and my mom always took me to more alternative doctors because I did have a lot of health challenges when I was a kid, and I think I was just really sensitive, and so she took me to a lot of different people to explain what was going on, but I learned so much as I was working with them, and so all of this just became
kind of like meant to
program.
be. You were supposed to.
So that's when my journey started. But I would say that when you reach the high school age, a lot of we're really conditioned at that point, and I was like certain that I would be an artist, and I would and I did go to art school, and I would pursue art direction and just all of these stories and in art installation and performance art and all of these things that I felt that I wanted to do for my life. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and I was a yogini, and I still practiced all of these things, but I didn't see how I could change from that story that I created about myself as an artist into how to be a healer in the world. And so I just had a big breakdown and was like, this is not my career, and I started from the bottom, and then that sent me traveling to the Amazon for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I met you, we were just saying about 10 years ago, and I remember when you created your little oils too, the Eyewalker, and then you invited me to a ceremony, like a cacao ceremony and all this, and so I seen some part of your journey. So now, so what happened in the Amazon? I want to know. Actually, I think that's interesting.
The oils are a big piece of what was downloaded in me from the Amazon. So when I traveled down to the Amazon, of course, like I'm in my 20s at that time, and I'm exploring healing, maybe traumas or things that I never even considered were happening for me. And as I continued to go back and forth down there, because I did go back and forth for many years. I went down for 5 years pretty consistently, from 2006 to 2011. And
from LA, you were in LA already?
And did you know where you were going the first time you went?
I did, yeah. I had met this wonderful, quirky fellow named Troy Casey, who a lot of people probably know from the social media space. His name is the Certified Health Nut. I will tag him here because he's the one that really initiated my journey to the Amazon. Because he was like, hey, I really think you need to work with Amazonian plant herbs. And I started to work with these Amazonian herbs more for healing, not for the psychological healing practices. And he was like, but I'm going down to the Amazon, and I would like for you to come. And I was like, all right, I'll go. And so that was the first time that I went down there, and that was my opening process to that experience. But when I was traveling down there, I got a very clear message that part of what I was here to do with plants was that I was here to work with creating love potions for people. And we called them pusangas in the jungle. And the pusangas are they're like someone's very personal love potion.
Yeah.
Right? And so whatever they need to work with to activate the love frequency inside of themselves, or clear the obstructions that they need to clear to activate that love frequency, that's what I was here to transmit in the world of plants. And so I started working with that, and then all of these smells started becoming downloaded into my system. And so I just became really inspired to, aside from just perfumery, because that's, perfumery is beautiful, but when we're working with plants, and
I feel that even perfumery alters. I mean, if somebody, if you go sometimes to these malls or stores and they spray, it just changes the mood. It changes your whole feeling. I feel it should be very personal. It should be,
absolutely.
So
that's. I wanted to kind of help people work with natural products that are straight from the earth, and that are going to work with their limbic system and their olfactory system to help them harmonize their body. And so, so I worked with that plant medicine for quite a long time. And Kundalini yoga has always been a part of my life as well. And then when Kambo came in, I was really seeking a personal healing journey for my body and my emotions and my spirit. And I didn't really know what I was seeking when Kambo came in. It just was like I heard the word.
I'm curious about that, because that's not really, I know about it because of you. And so how did was that on another trip to the Amazons, or how did you find out about Kambo?
It's interesting, it was much later. And so I first heard about Kambo 8 years ago.
Okay.
And so when someone said the word, I said, I need to do that. What is it? I'm really feeling called to whatever that is. It's a frog medicine. And I was like, what is it? And someone just said, it's a warrior's medicine. It makes you a warrior. And I was like, I'm a warrior. I need to do that. And so I sought it out, and I sent a bunch of emails, and I researched, and nobody got back to me.
Really?
And I was just like, okay, it must not be my time. I must not actually be ready to work with this. And so as I continued to seek it out and just maybe call it in rather than find someone to do it, because I didn't want to pressurize the situation. I wanted to magnetize it.
And I think sometimes, you have to have the right timing, and things come to you actually in the right time. So,
exactly. So I was invited to my first ceremony. And so then
And that was in LA?
That was in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, and these people were traveling through, and I just sat for one treatment, which, in hindsight was perfect and yet not the recommendation for when someone first sits for Kambo. It's really great to sit for 3. You don't really get a lot with 1. You get like the taste of the medicine.
Yeah.
But I went for 1, and it changed my life because I was dealing with long-term. I believe that my immune system was attacked by mold because I was living in toxic mold exposure. And I went through many years of working with my immune system to heal. And then I eventually sat with Kambo, and at that time when I was sitting with Kambo, I remember saying in the intention circle with 35 people, I was like, this is the best I've ever felt in my entire life. This is the best I've ever been in my entire life. I'm really just open to what the medicine has to show me. And I had this really deep cough, like this cough that would not leave me for 2 months. And it was just this like very dry in my chest cough. And I received the medicine. It was on my body a very short period of time. And then the cough was gone.
Wow.
And I have never been sick since.
Wow.
I have never been sick since.
That's amazing.
And that was many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, there's something really profound about this medicine. I didn't expect for it to tap into so much physicality for me. Because I really want to do like the emotional work.
You always think of these kind of ceremonies. Okay, I'm gonna be like transformed, but into like
So how does it generally work? Because you said it's by 3.
Well, that's suggested like when someone sits for the first time. So what's cool about Kambo is that this medicine is a somatic medicine versus a psychedelic. And so when you're working with the somatic body and all of the things that potentially get trapped in the soma, then you are actually able to unwind patterns that have been going on in there for quite a long time. And these patterns could be health patterns, they could be emotional patterns, tics, addictions, PTSD, all kinds of different things. I work with cancer patients, I work with Lyme patients, I work with autoimmune, I work with all kinds of different conditions, from like the most physical to the deepest emotional.
When somebody comes, let's say somebody comes to you and they want to do Kambo, and do you inquire first about what is going on with them, and then do you have suggestions from that? Because I know I don't know much about it. I know I'm interested in doing it at some point. But I know there's different points that you put the medicine. Is that according to whatever people have going on in their lives or their bodies? Or
Yes.
That's interesting.
So I work with the Chinese meridian acupuncture points.
Okay.
Yeah. And I always do a phone consultation to just decide if this person is the right fit for me.
Yeah, and if they're ready too, because I think some people get like maybe, you know, and then they're not really ready.
Absolutely.
I hear it can be pretty intense.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
It can be everything.
Yeah.
It can be
You just have to be
ecstatic.
open to whatever.
Yeah, it can be ecstatic and it can be really challenging.
Because you do it on yourself too, I see.
I do. Yeah. I should do a video of that sometime.
Yeah. If you want, we'll come by and film you. Okay.
That would be so funny.
Is there an element of purging that goes also with that? And is it each time, or do you get used to it? No, you purge.
You purge every time. And I'll give you guys the very practical reason why people purge. So typically, one consumes a large amount of liquid before the medicine goes on. The liquid is usually water, but sometimes people do the traditional kaisuma drink, which is a fermented yucca root. And so the yucca root, it's easier on my tummy. You know, a lot of water is not as easy on the tummy, but it's really hard for me to stomach. Like it's just kind of like this lukewarm, sludgy, like beverage. And but it's easier on the stomach, and it's easier for certain people to purge. So there are peptides inside of the secretion of Kambo that stimulate the muscle constriction in the abdomen. And so it can make them purge. But the water element or the liquid element also can bring up the purge.
Yeah.
And it helps kind of move things from the system. When I'm treating certain people, I may choose to treat them dry, which means I don't give them any water and they take less points of medicine. And the dry combo is more of the tradition of the Matsis, so they call it sampo. And so this would be a burning from the inside out. So it works more subtle energetic layers. And you really feel the heat. Like a lot of people feel the heat and the burning of things that aren't, you know, in alignment with the body. I would treat someone with Lyme that way. I would approach someone with Lyme. I would approach someone with autoimmune.
So how did you learn? Did you have to study with somebody that already was doing combo, and then I'm sure intuitively you can also figure out what a person needs at some point, or
so I've done really extensive studies, really extensive practical studies, and I have my teachers. And so I am on the journey to master practitioner space, and I am going to be teaching other people how to administer this work. And so I've also on the sidelines studied with my master acupuncturist, and he has taught me this modality to be able to test people through applied kinesiology. And so I work with just tuning into what's going on at the root level for people's bodies. I see what's going on when people sit in front of me. I have like this medical intuitive thing that's happening. And so I see where the points need to go, things flash up for me, body parts kind of start to get like activated, and then I know how to treat the person. And so I'm working with a lot of study and a lot of experience, and then nuance and intuition. So it's wisdom, intuition, knowledge, and that's how I kind of bring it all together.
So do you feel that it's more people talk about you to others, and that's how you get your
word of mouth?
How do you advertise?
Yeah, I'm very much word of mouth. I have had a lot of different interviews and podcasts and opportunities to share my work with certain people, and so there are ways that people can listen to what I do and what I say. I don't have the biggest Instagram following, but I have people that
that doesn't matter. It's just you know.
And do you want to say what's your name?
So my name is Taylor Eyewalker on Instagram. I do post a lot of information about alternative medicine, healing, consciousness, yoga, awakening, Kambo, and so people do find me through the pathway of Instagram, and then but word of mouth is really it's the most.
I think it's the best actually, because there's a trust that comes with it. Like it's not just like I don't know this person, I just found them on Instagram. You know, it's just like there's a trust. And so, what else? What is your typical day? Like, how do you start? Do you set yourself up? Let's say you have somebody coming to do combo. Do you set up? Do you have to prep? What is your prep? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So before each client, I always set the chi field of the space. Because if I don't set the chi field, things could become chaotic. So it's all about the practitioner holding the chi. Because one person could have one combo type experience with a certain practitioner, and then that same person could have another experience with me, and it's a lot more, the field is held. And so the most important thing for me is to place into the field what I want to hold into the space. And that's how I open the energetic space. I work with a lot of smoke. I work with a lot of clearing, and then I guide each person through meditative process, and I'll also use other medicines if appropriate before the combo goes on. But that's kind of how I set my stage for each person to come into my space.
Okay.
And then we have a lot, if someone's right in front of me, we have a lot of time to talk and connect and see what's going on, and how can I approach this with you to be the most supportive.
Yeah.
And,
So do you also do group consultations, or is it mostly one-on-one?
So I do group ceremonies. I do one-on-one treatments. The one-on-one treatments include a lot of consultation, a lot of personal connection, one-on-one experience. The group, if someone wants to consult with me outside of the group space, they're welcome to. But the group energy is more like I'm holding ceremony.
Yeah.
And it's about the whole.
Yeah.
Of course, when each person comes in front of me, I scan them, I tune into them, I burn them appropriately. I am not just burning willy-nilly, like give me your shoulder, boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah.
I really want to like
You really tune
take
in
time
into
with that
each person. Yeah.
And so I do that in the groups where a lot of practitioners don't do that.
Yeah.
And I have private groups as well, so a lot of couples want to come to me. I've been treating a lot of mothers and sons,
Nice.
which has been really cool.
Yeah. So how young can people start? Because
I mean,
babies, it's too young, I imagine.
truthfully, a kid could start at 2.
All right. Okay.
I won't burn a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't burn anyone younger than 18.
Yeah.
Unless they've been given parental consent.
Yes.
And the only reason being is that I don't want to get into the risky space of burning a child, is because if they're in school and their teacher sees that they have burns on their body, then questions are going to start to arise. And so this is like a Western kind of sensitivity, but technically 2-year-olds are fine to receive Kambo. It will be a baby amount, but they're fine to receive it. And it really helps the kids in the jungle, because remember, like they're exposed to malaria, they're exposed to salt parasites in their water, lack of clean water, all kinds of things. So they need it to keep their systems running.
So how often would they do it? Like, or even how often do you do it on yourself?
In the jungle, it depends.
Okay.
It really depends. Like, but we could talk about like a Western perspective. I would say that for myself, because I'll tell you an interesting story if you want.
Yes.
So this client came over and I opened the door and I had this bright idea that I was going to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and do like a full moon sunrise combo treatment on myself. And it was brutal. And I was really swollen afterwards, and I was not really expecting it to be so brutal for me. But I knew that I needed to do it. And so I recovered and rested, and then my client showed up around 10, and I opened
That same day.
That same
day.
Okay. And I opened the door, and she said, "Oh, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, I'm great, yeah, of course." And she was like, "Oh, you look really tired." And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not tired." And she was like, "Oh, then it must be me. I must be really tired." And I was like, "Well, truthfully, I did Kambo this morning, so I'm looking a little bit different, but I don't feel tired." And she was like, "Oh, are you sick?" That was the first question she asked me.
Really?
"Oh, are you sick?" And I said, "Oh, this is an interesting question. I'd really like to talk with you about this." And I said, I don't do Kambo because I'm sick. I do Kambo because it's my practice. And I do Kambo to stay completely empathetic for you, sensitive to you, in the field of the medicine, and I'm taking care of myself the best that I can. And given that I see people, and some people are going through some sicknesses, I want to make sure that I am the most responsible from the point of view of my understanding that I can be. And so I'm keeping myself in the best health. And then that way you can trust me. Right? You can fully trust me because I'm taking care of
She
myself.
was okay after that.
And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's really interesting." And she was, "How many times a year do you sit?" And I was like, "Well, I would say that a healthy person like myself would want to sit maybe 10 to 12 to 14 times a year. If they want to be in a practice with the medicine. Some people will come and do that 3 treatment series once per year, and they're like, "I never get sick, I feel amazing, it's a really strong boost." And then some people are like, hey, I have some really big things that I want to work through in my life.
Yeah.
And these emotional traumas have been holding me
Yeah.
back, and then we create a protocol.
Yeah.
And then I have people that have cancer that need to see me a lot more.
Yeah.
People with autoimmune need to see me a lot more. People with Lyme, a lot more.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the condition and the intention and where someone is at any particular time.
Yeah. And when you were talking about that, I think if we're thinking of Western medicine, we can think of like a psychologist needs to be in therapy to be able to continue their journey, because you're seeing so many different types of problems. You don't, I guess Kambo Medicine helps you to evacuate also all that you're taking in when you're seeing them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Definitely. So it helps me clear my field.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have a personal practice of clearing my field every day and night too.
Yeah. So when you wake up, you mean you have like a special way that you start your day? Because we tend to always, grab our phone and check the emails, and I imagine you're starting your day differently.
Yeah, so I wake up every morning and I do my sadhana, which is I do kundalini yoga meditation and practice every single day, and I have every day for the last 8.5 years. I've never skipped a day.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to get into the habit, but I think once you are, it's so good.
It's life-changing.
Yeah. I have one question that's relating to something you talked at the beginning.
Yeah.
This babysitter that you had.
Oh, yeah.
Does she know your journey now? Have you treated her?
She does. I haven't treated her.
Yeah.
We sat, this was probably 4 years ago, and we sat and chatted, and she had a juice, like a home delivery juice company at the time, and I'd love to reconnect with her again, but we do stay in touch. But she's still this incredible woman, just so graceful, so inspiring, so regal, so on her health journey.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you never know who you're gonna have an impact on. Because she was just being herself with you, and yet she completely opened you up, which is great.
Yeah, I attribute her presence in my life for pretty much everything that began the course of my awakening.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think that's
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you so much. And and then I'll put in writing underneath the video all your information and everything, so people can find you if they're ever interested.
Beautiful.
I'm
It's
interested,
beautiful
for sure,
space.
still.
Yeah,
And then your space is so
it's amazing.
magical.
Yeah.
I love the smell too.
Yeah.
You were talking about scents earlier, and it was just like very nice. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Very
much.
comfortable.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being here. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.